Welcome back. Buongiorno, come va? How's it going, guys? Welcome back after a long hiatus. So this will be my third or fourth cross stream. I can't rightly remember. And today what I'll be doing is I will be going into these buildings right over here in this corner. And I guess today I just wanted to try to segue back into things a bit. I was up in Vermont looking at the place I'm going to be moving to in the fall with my fiance. And because of that, I couldn't put out any videos last week. But props to you guys for bearing with me and being patient. I appreciate all 19 of you who are currently subscribed to my channel. And if you like the content in this video, please smash the like button, right? Or dislike the video too, that helps as well, right? Anything to beat the algorithm. In any event, just kind of going along here, doing this foundation, Isaac Asimov's foundation fan art piece, and I wanted to sort of just talk about for a little bit what Asimov means to me. So when I was young, probably in 8th grade is when or maybe 7th grade, yeah, between 6th and 7th grade is when I discovered Asimov's books. And I actually started with Prelude to Foundation, oddly enough, and I read through it and I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad I started with Prelude because I think I was, books at the time, the late 80s, early 90s were starting to become more character focused, character driven than the books that had come previously in previous epochs of science fiction writing, like the golden age of science fiction, which was the 30s, 40s, and 50s. They were more conceptual. The books, generally, the stories were more focused on plot as opposed to character, which is fine. And it was dealing with more so with big ideas, scientific concepts. And you still had that in spades in Asimov's work, but I felt that Asimov's later books that he wrote at the onset of the 80s going into the 90s, shortly before his death, I felt like those particular prequel novels, namely Prelude to Foundation and Foundation's Edge, were a little bit more sophisticated in how they developed the character of Harry Seldon and how they gave Seldon more of a supporting cast, namely the android Doors and Doors and his adopted son Reich Seldon. So I first came across his books when I was in middle school, and I loved it. I blazed through Prelude to Foundation, bought several copies of it, and then a family friend gave me the Foundation trilogy, collected in one volume. And at that point, I decided I would just dive right in, and I loved the Foundation trilogy too. I think when I was younger, I definitely appreciated Foundation and Empire more. I feel like out of all the Foundation novels, I think Foundation and Empire was my favorite of those original three, just because you have a lot of flawed characters. You have a sort of you have an interesting protagonist. You have a very interesting villain in the form of the mule, and again, just a little bit more getting into, okay, we've established the Foundation, we've established this universe. Now we're going to turn everything on its head and put this organization, the Foundation, in a spot where it's on the defensive, and really put a question mark over whether the Foundation will triumph or not. And it was still dealing with predicting the future and psychohistory. And I was a big Star Wars fan growing up, and I didn't realize until I read Asimov's books, namely his Foundation series, how much of Star Wars was riffed off the Foundation. I'm not saying that in a pejorative way with regards to Lucas. I think Lucas was brilliant, but he definitely knew where to steal, and he stole from the best: Kurosawa, Asimov, Herbert. And Herbert admittedly also has recognized Asimov as an influence on him. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to establish this color harmony. And I have a few colors here that I've sort of picked out. I've got got some gunmetal colors over here. And I'm kind of looking at this area up here. So what I'm going to do is just go in. And I feathered this out 2 pixels so that when I go into this edge, it's, let's not do that. That's the lake. You can see I've already done the lake. It's time to change the music up here. There we go. Some synthwave music to paint to. This is all 15%. Let's lower, let's raise that. So anyway, I wanted to getting back to Asimov and what the Foundation novels mean to me. They mean a great deal to me in terms of fostering my love for sci-fi and opening me up to the possibilities of what you can do with sci-fi in terms of imparting these grand concepts across in a way that is understandable and discernible for the average viewer. And also, I like Asimov's optimistic vision of the future in the form of the Foundation. Speaking of culture, technology, and learning, that sort of a light against the darkness. Even in its twilight, the Galactic Empire is a thing to behold. We have faster than light travel. We have easily a galaxy spanning civilization. It's arguably type 3, like a type 3 on the Kardashev scale, right? As opposed to a type 1. I don't even think the Federation in Star Trek comes close. They've only, in Star Trek, the Federation has only colonized a single quadrant of the galaxy, and Foundation, I think, Asimov's empire is colonized the whole thing. Let's see. And I'm just actually going in alla prima here. Rather like that. I'll lower the opacity on this and come in with a different pass. And the best thing about this is we can kind of go in now and we can take a little bit from here. A little bit from there. A little bit from here. I've already established my color harmony. And we can raise the opacity. Digital is really a great tool in the sense that it allows you to do all these different things. Like that. And so that's, if we look at this at actual size, all right. Not bad so far. Let's go back. I want to add some details. Let's go really hone in. Actual size. Let's knock that down a bit. Rather like that. I don't mind that either. Very good. Looks pretty good to my eye, right? Now we have to carve out these buildings here. So I'm trying to think, what other Asimov novels have I really gotten into? The robot novels in particular, and those are super relevant now with, you know, the investment in AI, cybernetics. You know, we have Elon Musk working on Neuralink, and I have my own sort of reservations about that. I don't necessarily think Musk is a good actor, but you know, like it or not, whether we want it or not, this type of technology is only going to become more and more relevant. Things like Neuralink, biotech, you know, pacemaker technology, cybernetics, nanotech, anything in the tech space with regards to information storage, remote learning. Those things are all going to be integrated, and there's going to be a synergy, a confluence of these technologies that are going to have a huge impact on our lives going into the remainder of this century and the preceding several centuries, I would think. Not that I'm an expert, but sort of paraphrasing experts here. You have guys like Miki Yukaku who are talking about these sorts of ideas like disposable computers, how information is actually the commodity that we prize, and the computer is just a vector to access that information. And eventually computers will become so cheap we'll just dispose of them like we disposed of like we would dispose of an old baseball card or something. Although some of you probably who are baseball card collectors, my old man is a baseball card collector, some of you probably would think that hey, hold on now, baseball cards are valuable, they can be worth a lot of money. Yes they can, but one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? That's what they say. But in any event, Asimov touched on these things in his robot novels, this idea of, you know, robots taking people's jobs, robots, you know, are robots sentient beings versus automatons? Are they entitled to human rights, or are they just property? And, you know, how would you program a robot so that it did not harm people? And he goes into the 3 laws of robotics, which again, as a plot device and as sort of a plot construct, are brilliant, and also as a sci-fi concept is brilliant and very prescient, and turned out to be very prescient and very applicable to sort of influencing the way that programmers, roboticists think about the field, right? I don't think Asimov coined the term robot, but he did coin the term robotics, I believe. And what I thought was so cool about Asimov is that he has this history of the future, and it's written sort of in the style of Edward Gibbon. If we circle back to the Foundation books, it's based on Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. But then if we go to the robot novels, it's definitely almost like proto-cyberpunk if you're talking about a book like The Caves of Steel, which takes place in an overpopulated, kind of dystopian, authoritarian New York, where you're given like a social credit system based on your behavior, and like your social credit allows you to access certain privileges because there's only so many people, and there's only so much room, and there's so many people. Like, you know, people who with higher social credit scores can access more of the privileges that would be that would impact like the resource consumption uh, of the entire population. So, you know, if you're a C5, which is their highest tier, right, you can keep more food in your kitchen than a C4 would, or you can access more luxury goods. You can consume more resources, basically. And I found it interesting that the detective character in The Caves of Steel, Elijah Bailey, was, even though he's a cop, he ranks relatively, he's not really that high up on the social credits scale. I think he starts out as like a C3. So, you know, law enforcement, while necessary, it's not like the super prestigious job in Asimov's future. It seems there's a common theme in Asimov's writings where the most respected occupations are doctors, smarty pants, right? Anybody who is a scientist or works in the sciences, or that sort of deal. I'm gonna actually just change the shape of this a little bit here. There we go. And again, I know this video is a little disjointed. That's just because I'm getting back in my rhythm. I was MIA again up in Burlington, Vermont last week. And that was nice though. I can't say that it wasn't a good time. It was a very good time with the family. And I'm looking forward to moving up there in the fall, that's for sure. I love New York, but it's getting more crowded and crowded every day, and it's kind of a crazy place to raise a family. I think you need that space is at a premium, right? And I just think that it's one of those things where time to have a little change of pace, right? Time to visit the country. So getting back to Asimov, yeah. So the Caves of Steel. Caves of Steel was pretty eye-opening. It takes place 4,000 years in our future, right? And it's actually part of the same universe that iRobot takes place in. But what Asimov did is, again, starting in the 80s and 90s, he wove his robot books together with his Foundation books and made the main character in the robot novels a human sort of Lieutenant Commander Data-esque android, Daniil. He made Daniil a driving sort of protagonist throughout all of his books. And I don't want to spoil things. I'm not going to go too far into it. But basically, Daniil influences the protagonist of the first Foundation novel, Harry Seldon, to come up with this science of psychohistory, which is pivotal in predicting the future, which is one of the key themes of the Foundation novels. And the robot series, namely Robots of Dawn and Robots and Empire, go into how Daniil steps into that role of being humanity's sort of guide and protector. So I felt that was extremely interesting for Asimov to do that. I know some people don't like the fact that Asimov blended his two universes together, but I actually think it was sort of a brilliant stroke to do that, because it creates such a comprehensive books universe, right? You have 20 books that are all part of the same sci-fi universe of the future, and it spans 20 books, and it spans 20,000 years in change, right? From our own time to 20,000 years into the future. It's absolutely brilliant. And again, if you look at those books, you can kind of see how Herbert was really riffing off of Asimov and taking some cues in terms of the scale of his own universe. Although Frank Herbert took it even further with Dune. And I think Dune, it's not even confined to one galaxy. In Dune, there's multiple galaxies. It's basically a universe scale type of setting where it goes beyond the Milky Way. I think Asimov's stories are largely confined to the Milky Way. I don't know if he worked Fantastic Voyage into his universe, but there's another channel you should check out. I'll put the channel in the cards. His name is Foundation Era, and he seems like a really cool dude. I came across this channel here on YouTube, and I'm doing these fan art series, these Asimov fan art, covers, right? And so I'm going to hit him up every time I do a cover and give him a shout out. He was nice enough to kind of retweet my previous cover I did of Gal Dornick arriving on Terminus. But you should definitely check out Foundation Era. Seems like a really solid dude. And I'm just going through here and refining these edges. I teach, so I'm going to be teaching in a little bit, but I wanted to get on here and at least record this video for you guys. And probably post it a little later in the week. Let's see. Let's go in here and what I want to do is look at some of the colors in here, and I want to establish what kind of colors I'm seeing in these buildings. So I'm actually going to take a lot from the colors on this big structure, this thing almost looks like a space elevator. I don't know what the heck it is exactly, but it's pretty insane looking. And I'm just going to go in and kind of just maybe knock the hardness up a little bit. And really with one of these, you just want to look at the forms that are the shape language that's being employed in the reference, sort of like, how the forms are relating to each other and where the shadows are falling. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of, going in. I'm not really trying to overthink it. And what's the time? It's 41. So in another 10 minutes, I'm going to cut this. But I wanted to come on here and just touch base with you guys and express my adoration for Asimov. And shift. me zoom out a little bit. Not bad. In here. And this is how you do it. This is how you find your shapes. Just like with a traditional oil painting, you want to step back occasionally. Look at how things look as a big picture, how all the shapes are relating to each other. I'm actually going to go in and, I'm going to add pop some highlights and whatnot at the end there. But I'm just kind of going in right now and just, generally figuring out what my mids and darks, mids and, light darks are, and then go in and get my highlights. And then as I'm same time, getting my highlights, commit more to my darks. But speaking of committing to darks, I probably want to commit to my darks sooner rather than later. So I'll bring some of these darks from up here in. Go out again. Just like with traditional oil painting, you want to be well aware of what's going on. And I'm kind of going in alla prima doing this. I don't mind that at all. It's pretty solid so far. Save that. And because we're at 47, we will pick this up in a subsequent video. I'll be putting out at least 2 videos this week to make up for the lack of videos last week. But thank you for joining me today, guys, as I wax poetic over my love of Isaac Asimov. And I will put out another sort of digital painting paint stream shortly. All right, so that's that. Let me stop the recording here, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you shortly. Take care.